All right, welcome back to Maeve Yoga. I am Elizabeth, and this is kind of just going to be a general video, a hot tip video about breathing and yoga. So, I know that a lot of newer practitioners of yoga tend to find it difficult to figure out when to breathe where and how to breathe. Like, when do you know when to inhale versus exhale? How should I breathe? There's so many questions around it. And when you do learn how to connect your breath with the practice, it makes it so much better, at least in my opinion. But like, it really does change the practice, the flow, and it kind of almost makes it magical, I guess. I don't know. Magical might not be the word I'm trying to think of, but it definitely creates this fluidity and this beauty through the practice where it kind of all just starts to connect and it feels really good. So, some different things that I've heard about when it comes to knowing when to inhale versus exhale. If you think about the background of yoga and the fact that, where it originated and everything, and the fact that, our lovely mats did not used to exist. Yeah, maybe some people used to practice on rugs and stuff, but also it might have been common to just practice on the ground. And so one of the things that I always heard is whenever you're moving in a downward motion in yoga, so for instance, a forward fold, you're coming from standing and you're hinging at the hips, diving forward, is you want to exhale because you're moving toward the dirt and you don't want to breathe that in. And then when you're coming up, you're breathing in because now you're getting all that fresh air that's around you and really filling the lungs with what is clear and pure. So that's one way to think of it. One of my other favorite sayings, and I don't know if this will get kicked off of YouTube, I would hope not, but it's whenever you are breathing up to heaven, you will breathe in, and then whenever you're breathing down to hell, you breathe out. So that's kind of another fun one to think about if you like that imagery. So like, you don't want to breathe in the flames, but you do want to breathe in the clouds and the angels and the harps and stuff. So that's another way. And then one of the last methods that I really like to think about is it really depends on what the stretch is as well and what the position is. So for instance, whenever I'm entering a pose, let's say it's entering triangle pose, when I'm doing that reach out over my right leg and I'm focusing on creating length in the body, I'm inhaling. And then when I'm exhaling, I'm allowing my body to relax into the pose and come down to embody whatever part of the stretch I'm getting. And then it kind of allows me to settle in. So if that imagery works for you as well, perfect, wonderful. And it kind of works for forward folds and everything else as well. So essentially you always inhale on the activation when you're finding the length, and then you're exhaling once you're in it and breathing there. Another part of breath is it is quite common to hold your breath when you're in a new pose, or even a pose that you know well, but maybe you're just feeling a little uncomfortable in it. And so then you hold your breath to try and make it look a certain way, feel a certain way. And you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're always breathing, always supplying oxygen into your body, because that's going to make it feel better, and you're less likely to get lightheaded, because I've definitely done that. So whenever I'm teaching and I'm saying remember to breathe, I am reminding myself just as much as I'm reminding you guys, because you want to make sure that you're always breathing. And then I would say the last thing I would like to say about breath is you want to make sure that you're always taking full breaths in and full breaths out. So for instance, if you're breathing in and you find that you breathe in a full breath, your whole torso and body, you did a 3-part breath, is filled with air. And when you exhale, you find that your belly is still holding some of that breath and you haven't let it all out. When you go to inhale again, you'll find that it's shorter and that there's not as much room to fill the body with air. So you want to make sure that you let it all out every time. Don't keep that stale air inside. It's going to get uncomfortable and it's going to make your breath like less effective throughout your practice. And honestly, that's a good thing to keep in mind for everyday life too. Like if you know that you're out in the world and you're not exhaling all of that breath out, make sure you're doing it, because all you're doing then is keeping that carbon dioxide inside, and that's not good for you. So get that stuff out of there. And then I would say also the last thing about breathing during a yoga practice is when you are in different poses, you might find that different types of breath work better. So for instance, if you're doing poses where you're forward facing, whether that be like, you know, in a triangle pose, a warrior pose, downward facing dog, you might find that it's easier to breathe into the belly and kind of do more of a 3-part breath. But once you're into something like a twist, your abdomen is twisted up like a wash rag, and you'll find that it's harder to breathe into the belly. And that is totally normal and okay. And so that's when I always make sure I'm breathing into my chest. So just definitely listen to the body, understand what feels good. And if it feels like it's going to be constrained or difficult, you want to be careful to not try and force something, and instead focus on getting that breath in, even if you're breathing into the chest instead of the belly. Or if you can't do a 3-part breath there, no big deal. Just make sure you're getting that breath in and letting it out. So I hope that those hot tips are helpful, useful, whatever works. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to next time. Thank you. Bye.